Hi, my name is Lindsay and I'm a senior at the College of Worcester, and I'm going to be talking about ways to work through conflict, because I feel like that's an issue in our society that is really not talked about as much as it needs to be. So personally for me, some examples I can think of conflicts that have happened in my life, a lot of times have to deal with miscommunications with people, especially via, a lot of online communication like text message or Facebook or different things like that, especially in the age of technology. It's really easy to get caught up in that, especially in a communication system where you can't necessarily hear the tone of voice or the emotion that the person was trying to get across. So I can think of countless examples of times that has caused miscommunications between friends, family, significant other. So I feel like that's an issue that a lot of people might have. So some strategies that I like to use to resolve conflict is, first off, using the I method. So it's, the thing about conflict is the nature of it is that it involves some sort of hurt feelings. It wouldn't be a conflict if, some party in the relationship didn't feel hurt or upset or, questioning why someone engaged in sort of activity or behavior. So it's really about, everyone's feelings in the relationship and someone feeling like they, maybe were hurt or had something done that was not with them in mind. So really using the I method, I think, helps to approach the situation in a way where, one person in the relationship isn't being accusatory or, telling the other person that what they did was wrong without understanding, necessarily their reasoning behind it. So saying things such as, I feel angry because this happened, or I feel sad because this happened, presents it in a way where you're being honest about yourself and how it affected you without attacking them. And I think that's a really good way to approach conflicts like that and to keep a sort of peaceful atmosphere going. And some ways that I think can prevent conflicts from turning into a larger issue is, I think a key issue is timing of, expressing yourself and how the situation made you feel. I think as soon as possible you should tell the person how you feel about, whatever occurred in that situation, because, emotions have a way of building up in our system, and the more different events keep accruing, and the person does something that upsets you, and then another thing, and then another thing, it gradually builds the emotion higher and higher levels, to the point where it almost leads to this passive aggressive response where out of nowhere the person will suddenly explode on the other person, and that leads to a lot of anger responses and tension in relationships. Sometimes permanent damage can be done that way, because I feel like a common way of dealing with these conflicts is letting it build and simmer, because the nature of emotions and anger and things like that is, it's kind of like leaving a pot of boiling water going unchecked, letting it sit on your stove and not watching it, and then suddenly it's pouring out the sides, and then the fire alarm is going off, and then suddenly it's like you're having this fight or flight response, and the tension and anxiety just pours out of you, and you just have a really negative response to the person, and I really don't think that that's a good way to go about it. So as soon as you can, I would just be very honest about how you feel. And, I don't want to say brutal honesty is the best in relationships. I kind of agree with the concept, but I don't think one needs to be brutal necessarily to be honest. You should always, be honest with yourself and the person about how it affected you, but maybe instead of calling it brutal honesty, you can think of it more as like honorable honesty, or just being as honest as you possibly can so that you don't create that, that simmering emotional tension that builds up over time. I personally think the most important part of conflict resolution, above all, is making sure that both parties in the relationship feel like they had their emotional needs met. So what that means is, both parties can feel like they can openly explain themselves or explain how they felt without feeling belittled or humiliated or shamed by the other person. So approaching the situation with a calm state of mind, and so it's not necessarily just about yourself. You don't want to go in just saying all the things that happened to you and how it affected you, but you also want to give the other person a chance to respond to each thing. So it might look like, you starting out with the I statement, I feel like this, and then allowing the other person to respond with, oh, I did this because of this, and then maybe allowing a follow-through from yourself, saying, well, you going through with that action also made me feel like this way, and then coming together with the person and asking is there another way you could have gone about that behavior that you think you can do in the future so that we can avoid this tension that existed between us, and kind of problem solving together and saying what's another way to go about doing this in the future. Because I really think it's important to approach the situation in like a sort of team building philosophy, and working together with the person so that each person in the relationship leaves the conflict resolution feeling like they're in a better state than they were when they first entered it. So asking the person, is there something else I can do in the future to help with this situation so that we can be more eye to eye. So not only feeling open to express yourself and being very honest as soon as possible in the situation, but also asking the other person what you can do to help them make that situation better for the future. So thinking about both you and them. So just really keeping that calm state of mind so everybody leaves in a better state. And I think that's a lot better of a way to go about conflict resolution rather than, all these accusations and just letting the anger simmer out. Just really approaching it with a calm state of mind and, team building sort of philosophy and attitude. Well, I hope you found that helpful, and I will talk to you later.